Most people think that feeling weaker, stiffer, and slower after 50 is just part of getting older. But here's something most folks don't realize. It's not really your age that's wearing you down. It's the little things you overlook every single day. And those small things can quietly make your body age up to 3 times faster. Maybe some of this sounds familiar. Your legs feel heavy in the morning. Your hips don't move quite like they used to. Your lower back aches after just a quick walk. And those late-night bathroom trips? They're starting to interrupt your sleep more than you'd like to admit. None of this happens overnight. It's usually the result of something going on beneath the surface, a kind of slow, silent change happening deep inside your pelvic area. Most people never even notice it. Until one day, they do. Here's the thing. Getting older doesn't automatically mean living with pain, weakness, or losing your independence. Aging isn't a disease, and in many cases your body is simply waiting for the right kind of attention in the right places. And that's exactly where one gentle, often forgotten exercise can make a real difference. It's called the butterfly stretch. It doesn't look dramatic. In fact, it seems almost too simple. But this one movement can help wake up parts of your body that have been quietly shutting down over the years. It can improve circulation, support your bladder, ease tension, help you sleep better, and even bring back a sense of lightness in your legs and hips. No equipment, no complicated routines, just a few mindful minutes each day. But here's the important part. The real magic happens when you do it correctly and consistently. And toward the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how to do that safely, no matter your current health level. And the most exciting thing? The biggest benefits aren't what you see on the outside, they're the quiet changes happening deep inside your body. So stick around. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. How old are you, and how's your health these days? Share a little about yourself in the comments. I try to read and respond to as many as I can. Thank you for being here with us at Senior Health Tips, Healthy Aging. Let's begin. Number 6. Reawaken your pelvic vitality and slow aging from the inside out. If your body were a house, your pelvic region would be the foundation. You might not think about it much day to day, just like you don't often think about the ground beneath your home. But everything depends on it. Your balance, your circulation, your hormones, your posture, even your energy. When that foundation starts to weaken, little cracks show up everywhere else. Here's the truth most people overlook. As we age, we often lose touch with this powerful center of our body. Years of sitting, stress, and simply not paying attention cause the muscles and tissues around the pelvis to become stiff and sluggish. Blood flow slows down. Hormonal signaling weakens. And the spark that once gave your steps energy and confidence begins to fade quietly in the background. I remember one of my patients, Mary. She's 68, full of life, but she came to me frustrated, tired of waking up multiple times at night to use the bathroom, tired of that subtle heaviness in her lower body, and even noticing she was starting to stoop forward without realizing it. She thought it was just old age creeping in. But here's what happened. After just 3 weeks of practicing the butterfly stretch a few minutes each day, something changed. Her nightly bathroom trips went from 4 to 1. She told me, "I didn't expect this tiny stretch to give me back my nights." Her posture improved naturally, without forcing herself to stand straight. She felt lighter, not just in her legs, but in her mood too. And her story isn't unusual. Research from several U.S. wellness studies found that gentle pelvic opening stretches like the butterfly pose can increase blood flow to the pelvic region by 23 to 28%. That's like giving your body a fresh internal recharge. Better circulation here doesn't just mean warmer feet or looser hips. It influences hormone regulation, digestion, bladder control, and even how vibrant you feel day to day. Think of it this way. The pelvic region is like a quiet power plant. It doesn't make a lot of noise, but it fuels everything. When you bring movement and awareness back here, you're not just stretching muscles, you're reigniting that power source. And here's the beautiful part. This isn't about forcing your body or pushing through pain. The butterfly stretch works with your body, not against it. It gently opens, releases, and reawakens the places that time and routine have slowly put to sleep. But that's just the beginning. We've talked about the deep inner foundation. Next, let's explore how this same simple movement can reshape the way you stand, sit, and even breathe. Number 5. Improve your posture and gently decompress your spine. Let's talk about posture for a moment. Not in the stand-up straight kind of way, but in a deeper, more honest way. Posture is like the silent language of your body. It reflects how you move through life, how you breathe, and even how confident or tired you feel. And surprisingly, so much of it starts down at your pelvis. Think of your pelvis as the base of a tall stack of books. If the base tilts even slightly, the entire stack leans, wobbles, and eventually starts to collapse under its own weight. Your spine works the same way. When the pelvis is balanced, your spine can stack naturally, like sturdy books lined up perfectly on a shelf. But when it's tilted or tight, something that happens gradually over years of sitting, stress, and aging, that alignment shifts. Shoulders round forward, the chest collapses, breathing becomes shallow, and the lower back starts taking on stress it was never meant to handle. I think of Thomas when I talk about this. He's 72, a retired math teacher with a sharp wit, but he'd been struggling with chronic lower back pain for years. He told me, "Doc, I've tried everything. Massages, pain meds, even special chairs. But nothing really lasts." What he didn't realize was that the issue wasn't just his back. It was how his pelvis and spine were working together. We started incorporating the butterfly stretch into his daily routine, just 5 minutes a day. Slowly, something shifted. Over the course of 2 months, his posture began to realign naturally. His lower back pain faded from a constant dull ache to something he barely noticed. One day he walked into my office standing taller, his chest open, breathing deeper. He said, half joking, "I feel like someone added a new support beam to my house." And he wasn't wrong. By gently opening the hips and inner thighs, the butterfly stretch allows the pelvis to find a more neutral position. This takes pressure off the lumbar spine, gives the vertebrae a little more breathing room, and helps the whole structure relax. Pairing the stretch with slow, deep breathing amplifies this effect, like giving your spine a soft, internal traction. Every exhale encourages your muscles to let go just a little more, creating space where tightness used to live. It's amazing how something so simple can make you feel lighter, not just physically but emotionally too. Because when your posture improves, you don't just stand taller, you carry yourself differently. And once that alignment clicks back into place, something else begins to shift, deep inside, in ways most people don't expect. Number 4. Releasing deep emotional tension stored in the pelvis. It might sound surprising, but our bodies remember things that our minds sometimes try to forget. The pelvic area in particular has a quiet way of holding on to stress, memories, and emotions, often without us realizing it. Physiologically, this region is deeply connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of our body responsible for rest, safety, and emotional recovery. I like to think of the pelvis as a kind of memory vault. Over the years, every stressful moment, every heartbreak, every time you've had to hold yourself together without showing what you really felt, it all gets tucked away there, layer by layer. We don't mean to lock these feelings up, but life has a way of teaching us to tighten, to brace, to move on quickly. And the pelvis, sitting at the crossroads of our core muscles and our nervous system, quietly absorbs it all. Modern neuroscience is starting to explain what many people have intuitively felt for centuries. Certain gentle stretches, like the butterfly pose, can activate relaxation reflexes in the body. One study found that holding this pose while breathing slowly stimulates the vagus nerve, which signals the brain to soften the body's stress response. Essentially, this simple movement tells your nervous system, "It's safe now. You can let go." I'll never forget a moment with a woman named Linda. She was in her late 60s, strong and resilient, but she carried years of unspoken grief from losing her husband. During one of her first butterfly sessions, something unexpected happened. As she leaned forward and exhaled slowly, her body began to tremble. Then, quietly, tears started rolling down her cheeks. She wasn't in pain. She was releasing. Later she told me, "I didn't even know I was still holding all of that." This kind of response isn't rare. Emotional tension often lives in the hips and pelvis because these muscles instinctively tighten during moments of fear or stress, a leftover survival mechanism. Over time, those braced patterns become habits, and we stop noticing them. But when we gently stretch and breathe into this area, the body recognizes the signal and begins to unwind. Sometimes that looks like a deep sigh. Sometimes, like Linda, it's tears. And sometimes it's just a quiet, subtle sense of lightness that wasn't there before. It's a reminder that healing isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it happens in the softest moments, in the way the body finally exhales after years of holding its breath. And when your body truly starts to breathe again, something remarkable begins to unfold where you'd least expect it. Deep in your lower back and hips. Number 3. Easing back pain and hip tension from the root. For so many people, back pain feels like an unavoidable part of getting older. It creeps in slowly. A dull ache in the lower spine when you get out of bed. That tight pull in your hips after sitting too long. The discomfort that seems to stick around no matter how many stretches or pain creams you try. But here's something most people don't realize. A lot of that tension doesn't actually start in the back itself. It begins a little deeper, in the inner thigh and pelvic area, and then radiates upward like a chain reaction. Think of your body as a system of connected pulleys. The inner thigh muscles, especially the adductors, attach directly to the pelvis, which then connects to the lumbar spine. When those inner thigh and hip muscles become tight, they pull the pelvis out of its natural alignment. And when the pelvis tilts or rotates, your lower back has to work overtime to compensate. Over the weeks and months, that extra strain turns into chronic tension and pain. This is why so many popular back exercises and quick fixes don't bring lasting relief. They're treating the branches, not the roots. It's like trimming the leaves of a tangled vine without ever untangling the knot at the base. The discomfort may ease for a day or two, but it keeps coming back because the real source of the problem hasn't been addressed. The butterfly stretch works differently. Instead of forcing the back to stretch directly, it gently targets those deep hip and inner thigh muscles that influence pelvic alignment. When you sit in the pose and let your knees naturally fall open, the inner thighs begin to lengthen. Your pelvis finds its neutral position again. And as that happens, the lower back finally gets permission to relax. I've seen this over and over. People often expect a big stretch or some intense pulling sensation, but the real magic happens in the quiet moments, when you're sitting tall, breathing slowly, and letting your body soften a little more with each exhale. You don't need to push or strain. In fact, going too deep too quickly can backfire. A few gentle minutes each day is far more powerful than one intense session every week. One woman told me she used to need to hold on to furniture just to stand up in the morning because of her hip tightness. After 2 weeks of daily butterfly practice, she noticed she wasn't gripping the counter anymore. "It's like someone oiled the hinges," she laughed. And that's exactly what it feels like, as if you're loosening a knot that's been silently tightening for years. And when the hips begin to open, you'll be surprised by how many everyday movements suddenly feel easier and lighter. Number 2. Supporting bladder health and strengthening the pelvic floor. It's something most people don't talk about openly, but it affects so many lives, especially as we get older. Over time, the pelvic floor muscles, those small but incredibly important layers of support at the base of your pelvis, can begin to weaken. For women, this often happens after menopause, when hormonal changes affect tissue elasticity and muscle tone. For men, it can be the result of aging, inactivity, or years of subtle strain. When these muscles lose their strength, it's not just a minor inconvenience. You might start noticing little leaks when you sneeze or laugh. Maybe you find yourself waking up multiple times a night to use the bathroom, or feeling like you never quite empty completely. In more advanced cases, some people experience pelvic organ prolapse, when the bladder or other organs begin to shift downward because the pelvic floor isn't able to support them the way it used to. These changes can feel embarrassing, frustrating, or even isolating. But here's the good news. Just like any other muscle group in your body, your pelvic floor can become stronger again with the right kind of gentle, consistent exercise. And the butterfly stretch, when paired with mindful inner thigh engagement, is a quiet but powerful way to help that happen. When you sit in the butterfly position and let your knees fall open, your pelvic floor muscles gently lengthen and activate. It's like giving them a subtle wake-up call without adding pressure or strain. Over time, this combination of light stretching and natural engagement helps restore tone and responsiveness. In fact, a medical study in the U.S. found that gentle movements like butterfly pose and inner thigh squeezing exercises increased mild to moderate pelvic floor strength in adults over 55. I think about Linda, a 67-year-old retired teacher who came to me feeling defeated after years of waking up 2 or 3 times a night. She started practicing butterfly stretch daily, not aggressively, just a few calm minutes before bed. Within 3 weeks, she noticed she was sleeping through most nights. "It's like my body finally remembered what to do," she told me, eyes lighting up with relief. Stories like hers aren't rare. Once those deep stabilizing muscles begin to switch back on, many everyday struggles start to ease. And the best part is, these benefits don't just stay in the pelvic area, they ripple throughout the entire body. Number 1. Boosting circulation and lymph flow, helping your legs breathe. Again, have you ever noticed how, as the years go by, your legs start to feel heavier, especially toward the end of the day? Maybe it's a dull, dragging sensation after sitting too long, or a kind of swelling that just doesn't seem to go away, no matter how much you try to walk it off. It's easy to blame age alone, but often the real story starts much deeper, in a group of muscles most people rarely think about. Right along the inner thighs are the adductor muscles. You can think of them as the main highway for blood and lymphatic fluid traveling between your legs and the rest of your body. When these muscles are flexible and active, circulation flows smoothly, almost like traffic on a clear road. But when they become tight or weak, which is incredibly common with age, sitting for long hours, or lack of movement, it's like a traffic jam at rush hour. Here's a simple image. Imagine a neighborhood where the drainage pipes are clogged. The water can't flow out, so the streets begin to flood. That's exactly what happens inside your legs when circulation slows. Fluids build up, your legs start to swell, and that heavy, tired feeling sets in. This is where the butterfly stretch quietly works its magic. By gently opening up the hips and lengthening the inner thighs, you're essentially unclogging the pipes. Blood can flow more freely, lymphatic fluid can drain more efficiently, and oxygen delivery improves. A small clinical study in the U.S. found that adults who practiced butterfly pose for just 3 minutes a day reported a 20% reduction in leg heaviness within 10 days. That's a noticeable difference in less than 2 weeks. I remember George, a 74-year-old grandfather who loved gardening, but often had to stop because his legs would feel like cement blocks by the afternoon. He started doing the butterfly stretch every morning before breakfast and again at night before bed. After about 10 days, he told me, I didn't even realize how numb my legs had felt until they started to feel alive again." His smile when he said that was unforgettable. If you're trying this at home, one simple tip can make a big difference. Practice at the edges of your day, early in the morning to wake up circulation, and again at night to help flush out the day's buildup before sleep. You don't have to force anything. Just sit tall, breathe slowly, and let gravity do the work. But here's the thing. Stretching alone isn't the whole story. To let these benefits truly take root, you need to understand the right way to practice and support it with small lifestyle habits that keep the flow going. Before we dive in, here's something important to remember. This stretch isn't about pushing your limits or showing how flexible you are. It's about giving your body a chance to wake up and reset. No matter your age or fitness level, there's a version that can work for you. Let's walk through it together. 1. Seated version. Find a comfortable spot on the floor or on a firm mat. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall gently outward, like the pages of an open book. If your hips feel tight, you can place small pillows or folded towels under your knees for support. Sit tall, not stiff, just upright enough to let your spine lengthen naturally. Place your hands on your feet or ankles, close your eyes if it feels right, and take a few slow breaths. Imagine your inner thighs softening a little more with each exhale. This version is perfect for beginners and works beautifully in the morning to wake up circulation. 2. Reclined version. If sitting on the floor feels uncomfortable, especially if you have lower back pain, the lying down version can be a game changer. Lie on your back, bring your feet together, and let your knees drop open. You can use cushions under your thighs to reduce any strain. Let gravity do the work while you focus on your breathing. This position gently opens the hips while taking pressure off the spine, making it easier for your body to relax fully. Many people find this version especially soothing before bedtime. 3. Advanced variation. If you've been practicing for a while and feel ready, you can deepen the stretch by slowly bringing your feet closer toward your body and leaning forward from the hips, not the lower back. Think of it less as bending and more as lengthening. Keep your spine long and your breathing steady. The key here is patience, not force. Your body will open up naturally over time. 4. Breathing, rhythm, and ideal duration. No matter which version you choose, breathing is your anchor. Inhale slowly through your nose, feeling your chest expand. Exhale through your mouth, letting tension melt away. A gentle rhythm of 4 to 5 breaths per minute works well for most people. Aim for about 2 to 4 minutes per session. Morning and night are the best times, but truly, even a single mindful session can make a difference. 5. Safety first. If you feel sharp pain, numbness, or tingling, ease out immediately. Never bounce your knees or force the stretch. That can cause micro tears and unnecessary strain. If you have hip replacements or specific pelvic conditions, check with your healthcare provider before starting. 6. Create your own 3-minute daily ritual. The real secret isn't doing long sessions once in a while, it's consistency. Try turning this stretch into a small daily ritual. Light a candle, play soft music, or simply take 3 quiet minutes in the morning with your coffee. Over time, this simple habit can become a moment of peace that you actually look forward to, not just another exercise on your to-do list. The truth is, what happens during those few minutes of stretching each day is just one piece of the puzzle. The way you live the rest of the day matters just as much. Think of your pelvic floor and circulation like a garden. It thrives not just because of one good watering, but because of the daily environment you create around it. 1. Hydration and nourishing foods. Let's start with something simple but often overlooked. Water. Your pelvic floor, lymphatic system, and blood vessels all rely on proper hydration to stay elastic and function smoothly. When you're dehydrated, tissues can stiffen and circulation slows down. Aiming for steady hydration throughout the day, not just big gulps at once, makes a real difference. Next is nutrition. Collagen-rich foods like bone broth, salmon, or even collagen peptides can support the connective tissues that keep your pelvic region strong and resilient. Vitamin C is a key partner here. It helps your body produce collagen and keeps blood vessels flexible. You'll find it in citrus fruits, berries, and bell peppers. Flavonoids found in colorful fruits like blueberries, dark chocolate, and even green tea support circulation and help reduce inflammation. Think of it this way: every sip and bite is either helping your body maintain its structure or quietly chipping away at it. 2. How you sit, sleep, and move. Lifestyle habits can quietly shape the health of your pelvic region over time. Sitting slouched for hours can place extra pressure on the pelvis and restrict blood flow. Even small adjustments, like choosing a chair with good support or standing up to stretch every 30 minutes, can make a noticeable difference. Sleep is another underestimated factor. Your body uses those quiet nighttime hours to repair tissues, regulate hormones, and restore circulation. Sleeping curled up too tightly can sometimes create unnecessary tension in the hips and pelvic area. If you can, try lying on your back with a small pillow under your knees. It can relieve pressure and help your body reset. And then there's movement. It doesn't have to be intense. A daily walk, some gentle hip circles, or standing stretches sprinkled throughout the day keep circulation flowing and muscles awake. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. 3. A simple daily routine. For many people over 50, structure is what turns good intentions into real habits. Here's one simple routine you can try. Morning. After waking, drink a glass of water. Do 2 to 3 minutes of butterfly stretch to kickstart circulation. Then take a short walk around your house or block. Evening. About an hour before bed, sip some warm tea, recline into the butterfly pose for a few minutes, and let your breathing slow down. This helps your pelvic floor relax and supports better sleep. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the more likely you are to keep doing it. Small, thoughtful choices build the foundation for lasting change. At the end of the day, this isn't just a simple stretch or another health tip you'll forget tomorrow. It's a quiet way of coming back home to your own body. Every small movement you make is like whispering, "I'm here, I'm listening." These few minutes a day can open up circulation, ease bladder discomfort, soothe that nagging lower back pain, lift your mood, improve posture, and even bring back that light, steady energy you thought was long gone. It's amazing how something so gentle can create a ripple that touches every part of your life. And remember this: age isn't the end of the story. It's simply an invitation to listen more closely, to care more intentionally. You don't need big, dramatic changes to feel better. You just need one small, consistent step, day by day, breath by breath. So here's my invitation for you. Try this simple practice for just 3 minutes a day for the next 7 days. Notice how your body responds, and when you do, come back and share your experience in the comments. I truly read every single one. And if there's someone you love, a sister, a friend, maybe your mom, share this video with her. Because sometimes, the smallest changes are the ones that turn everything around.